Welcome back for another book review. Today we're talking about this one. So this is Entering Hecate's Cave, The Journey Through Darkness to Wholeness by Cydni Brannen. So this book goes over how Cydni views the goddess Hekate in all of her many aspects. Each chapter is kind of focused on like a sort of specific aspect, sort of like how you have the Morrigan who's associated with different deities and there's arguments of like, is she that other goddess? Is it a different one? It goes down that path. So like going with the Morrigan, it's the equivalent of like where you're like, oh well, Maka, if that's how you're supposed to pronounce it, or Bave, are aspects of the Morrigan. Some people, I don't know that they're a majority anymore, but some think of them as separate deities, but a lot think it's just a shapeshifted form of the Morrigan. And that's kind of how this is with Hekate. None of these names do I know how to pronounce though, but you've got a lot of them. There's a lot of names that I don't know how to pronounce. But basically each of these is an aspect of Hekate. Each of the chapters has a bit of an exercise or something to do with this aspect and different like areas of life that would kind of be related to that aspect. I gave it a 3 and a meh. So I am not the world's biggest fan of Cydni Brannen. Brannen? Not Brandon. It's a hard name. It always autocorrects too, so it's even harder. Cydni's. Her content, she has a YouTube channel. She has a lot of content talking about Hekate. And I just don't jive. Like, it's not any one particular thing necessarily. It just isn't my cup of tea. And I think that's okay, because like there's certain people that like you just don't jive with at a certain time and you will others and vice versa. And that's okay. And her content is just not one that I particularly care about and I don't really connect with. And the thing is, her book is the same and some people really love it and then others, like me, really not. And so if you like her content, you'll like the book. If you don't like her content, it's the same in her book. One of the things that I really noticed in this book, and other reviewers had pointed out as well, is it's extremely repetitive. Now, I don't think I've read through, I don't know if it was the first book, but I read through Hecate's Garden, or whatever that one was, but I don't think I've read Keeping Her Keys. And apparently it's a lot of the same stuff that was in that book as in this one, supposedly. I haven't read the other one, but just throughout this book, it did feel very repetitive and the tone, I couldn't get into it. It was just honestly boring. It's like, I don't care at all. She also does kind of subscribe to the Margaret Murray theory thing of the not historically accurate of the ancient great mother goddess. That wasn't a thing. That was something she pieced together to make into a theory that has been disproven multiple times. But it's that same vibe of like, Hekate was the great goddess, which always irks my brain a little bit. I don't like ever putting a deity on that status. I have a hard time ever being like, this is like the one that's like, they created everything. I'm team, it's a team effort, and why would yours be the one that's special over someone else? And I don't know, I have a hard time with that concept, so like, her constantly mentioning it, and I'm like, okay, cool, but like, what if you're Norse? Didn't like Odin and his brothers create Midgard, which is where we live? And before that, like, it was a giant cow that created everything. Though to be honest, she'd probably argue she is the cow, to be honest. Like, I don't know, it's just, I have a hard time with like, she's the one, and all of these other deities and all of these aspects just miraculously fit together. It's different, I think, if you argue it in a modern context of like, listen, is it historically accurate? Meh. But, you know, I feel the vibe of this way. This is how I choose to view it. Because genuinely we don't know. We'll never probably know until we can build like time machines or maybe when you die, maybe, but even then, like, why would these great powerful beings give you the answers to the universe just because you're a human and you died. Like, I have a hard time suspending disbelief. And so when we make these big claims, I have a hard time with it. And it's throughout. She's always the great mother goddess. And it is very heavily focused on, again, female anatomy. We know how I feel about that, of like, you know, like, especially, I think you get a different perspective, especially, I don't know about men. I really cannot speak to the male perspective, to the non-binary, even the trans. You know, I don't know how all y'all have this experience, but as a lady who has a uterus but is not going to be birthing children from it, like, it is kind of dumb. Like, yeah, sure, it's great, but at the same time, like, it gets set on this big pedestal that's like, you know, that's only like a small fraction of your time, right? Like, it's just not that important in the long run. It's a step, it's a necessary step, but it's not the be-all end-all of existing. And constantly referencing back to, and it was so creepy, I hated the word choices of this, the dark, wet womb. Like, gross. I'm sure it's true, but like, I don't need that image all the time. That's kind of creepy. Because I'm sure it's wet, it's inside of a body, but like, gross. The image was just awful. But it's like, why are we constantly like this urge to, like, oh my god, it feels like Freud. Like, whatever, the dude, I don't even know if that's his real name. I don't even remember, because I have a massive headache right now. But the guy, the psychologist guy, who everything came back to sex and like wanting to have sex with your mom kind of a thing. That's what it feels like, doesn't it? Where it's like, you want to crawl back into the womb and we're hyper focused on like going back. And it's like, but why, bro? Like, I'm chill. And like, could we, if they're a god or a goddess of everything in nature, why would it be a uterus? Because not every species has that. And like, where she's connected to snakes, why couldn't it be crawling back into the egg? Just, you know, let alone looking at it, you know, as the living, breathing creatures we are, outside of the dark, wet womb of disgusting. Like, it's just, a lot of these authors get hyper focused on female anatomy working properly, and I don't know, I hate it. And so that just was, that combined with the great goddess and she's everyone and everything at all times, kind of, it just wasn't for me. It also is just like her like musing about this goddess. It's like, it is like the equivalent of like, if you've ever been around someone who's high as a kite and is like talking their philosophies of the universe, and you are stone cold sober watching this and you're like, oh my god, this, like, okay, they are going off the walls, and you're like, I can barely follow this train track. Like, this is a silly string line that I'm trying to follow right now. And that's kind of how this started to feel at some points, where you're like, where are you going? This is going most random places. I don't know why, just, okay. And so no. If you are a Cydni Brannen fan, if you love her content on YouTube, she has a bunch of videos. She has a lot of stuff talking about Hekate. This is for you. You will love this. If you love her content, you love her vibe, get a preview from her channel. Watch a few videos. If that vibe is like driving with you, you'll probably like this book. If you're like, it's the same, don't do it. But you might, it's a good place to start and then see, because again, it's kind of the same. So anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and get access to a bunch of stuff, it's over on patreon.com. I don't have the brain power to list it all, but I got a lot of stuff. I usually talk about it. But yeah, check out Patreon and make sure to check out my books, link down below. And until next time, thank you for watching to the very end. Hopefully, next time you see me, I will not have a pounding headache that refuses to go away, and everything will be fine. And then I'll have all of the energy in the world and not feel like I am getting stabbed through the brain. That's the hope and dream. So, till next time, blessed be.